Guys, in this video, I'm gonna talk about the worst deal I've ever done in real estate where we lost close to $60,000 of cash, like gone out of pocket, that is not coming back. So let's talk about this because it was fun. I'm just gonna start off with telling you all the things we did wrong right away. The first thing that we did wrong was this project was much larger than any other project we had purchased. Typically on a flip, I like to do light to mid rehab. This was a full gut job. This property had been sitting vacant for years. It was owned by the city. Nothing on this property worked. And the property sat outside of our typical size. We like to stay usually about 2,500 square feet or lower. This property was over 3,000 square feet, so it was a very large property. The reason that matters is because as you increase the size of a property, you're talking about also increasing the amount of rehab costs, the amount of material, labor, holding costs, everything. So when we had originally looked at the property, initially my first thoughts were, heck no, don't want to do it. My partner is local to the area. He really loved the house and he wanted to move forward with the project. I should have known something was wrong, Jeff, when he said, man, like this project, like it feels like, oh, this is gonna be so cool. It's such a unique property. When you hear the words unique property, run for the hills. Like I don't want unique properties. I want cookie cutter. So we went ahead and we bought this unique property. I mean, again, like all the signs were there. Like even trying to close this property, we had to negotiate with the city just to buy the property. And negotiation took almost 4 months of just trying to purchase the property from another wholesaler, right? During those 4 months, I should have been hitting the eject button this entire time, but we didn't. So we got the property for a purchase price of, let me take a look. What's on my screen over there? The purchase price was $30,000 on the contract, plus a $10K holding fee. So the $10K was it was a $10K deposit that we had to give to the city, and this was what they called a performance like contract. In other words, because we were buying the property from the city wanted homeowners to buy the property. That's why they were selling it at such a deep discount. And I explained to them, I'm not a homeowner, I'm not a primary resident. I'm not looking to live in the house. I'm an investor. I want to flip the house and sell it to somebody who will live here. So I need permission to be able to buy the property as a non-owner occupant and work on it. So the city said, we'll let you do that, but you need to put a $10,000 deposit that says you will perform, you will do the work you said you were gonna do, and you will sell it to a homeowner, or else we keep your $10K deposit. Absolutely. So all in, I had to spend $40,000 to get into the property. There was an assignment fee that was a part of the $30,000. I think it was like a $5,000 assignment. So I think the contract was like $25,000 and we paid $5,000. I forget what the assignment fee was, but the rehab, like I said, it was a big project. So originally we had budgeted for our rehab about $120,000. When you're putting in triple digit worth of renovation onto a property, you're talking about a pretty large rehab. I don't think like anyone's ever done a rehab for $120,000 and not considered it a large rehab unless you're in the luxury space and maybe you're just paying a ton for furniture and cosmetic things of that nature and you're working with like a 10,000 square foot property. But when you're up in Milwaukee and you're dropping $120K into a property, you're basically working with like the studs. So for this particular property, we went ahead and we borrowed $150,000. And here's where, again, like everything that could have gone wrong did go wrong. The interest rate we were paying on this money was, we were paying 12% interest on this property, which is actually pretty normal. Like I love paying people 12%, hooking them up with double-digit returns. So we're all in $150,000 at 12% interest. We buy the property, we start rehabbing it. And as we begin to rehab, I mean, immediately we're seeing issues with our contractors just not showing up on time. We're having problems where they start getting into things and realizing there's more work than they had originally told us in the estimates. And then I love my partner to death. He was overburdened. We had about 6 other projects going on at the same time and he was project managing them. And he's new to it, I was new to it. he was feeling overwhelmed with all the projects. So this was just a recipe for disaster. If you can imagine having your project manager stressed out, who's also your partner, having your contractors not show up or not answer, and then finding out that your rehab budget is actually off. So what ends up happening is we start the work, and my partner gives me a call one day and says, I don't want to do it anymore. What do you mean you don't want to do it anymore? He's like, I don't want to do the project anymore. I'm like, you mean the unique property that you sold me on, that you convinced me we should buy? Like that one, the one that I said I didn't want to do, you don't want to do that one anymore? The one that we've already purchased for $30,000, we put a $10,000 deposit on, and we're already about close to 20K of renovation costs into right now? Oh, okay. Well, what do you want to do? Because I'm not flying out to Milwaukee to do this project, and we already have so many other projects going on at the same time. This is one of the valuable lessons I learned from a good buddy of mine, Abraham Gray. He's a serial entrepreneur, owns a little over 44 businesses. He owns hundreds of properties, has done thousands of transactions, the largest buyer in Georgia. He sat me down and he said, Marlon, the most valuable thing I've learned in business is know when to cut your losses. So I didn't argue with my partner. I didn't make him feel bad. He's still a good guy. I said, you want to be done with the project? I never wanted to be in the project. We're done with the project. Let's sell it. Stop the work, cut off the utilities. Let's get this thing, let's get rid of it. We had the biggest headache in the world trying to sell this project because remember, what did we sign with the city? We signed a performance clause that said we would perform and we have a $10,000 deposit on this. So as we were trying to get rid of it, we were trying to get rid of it for the money we were all in onto it. So we were trying to sell it for, close to 60 grand. And I believe when we finally exited this property, and I have the closing statement somewhere around here, we exited this property somewhere around, I want to say $20,000 is what we sold it for. And we were all in on this thing close to, by the time everything was said and done with holding costs, utilities, everything, we were all in somewhere around $70,000. So we ended up taking close to a $50,000 loss of actual cash, of actual capital with this property. So the ARV on it was estimated at 250. So there was originally supposed to be about 100K spread, which even looking back on this in the future, here's my word of advice. If I've got to put up, essentially this much rehab on a project, I might not necessarily want to do it. I would rather, if the rehab number were lower or if my purchase price were lower and this number was still there, I would still possibly say yes. But I don't like dealing with properties that are considered unique. I want it to be cookie cutter, 3-bedroom, 2-bath, flying off the shelf, nothing that's the largest house in the neighborhood, nothing that is the oldest house or a historic house. I like dealing with cookie cutter, and I like for this rehab budget to never exceed more than about 60 grand. Because here's what people don't account for on the rehab of this size, especially if you're newer like we were. A rehab that's 120K, this isn't a 2-week rehab, it's not a 3-month rehab. We had actually anticipated it being close to a 1-year rehab. Well, what's the issue with 1 year? I don't have a crystal ball. I don't know what the market's gonna look like 1 year from now. That's a really long time to hold on to a flip and anticipate that your ARV is gonna hold steady and hold true a year in the future. No one knows what's gonna happen a year in the future. Interest rates might go up again, and now people in this market are saying, hey, $250,000 is at the top of your market. People are looking for houses closer to 180 because of the affordability. So those were a lot of the mistakes I made. So my profit ended up being like a minus, right? 50K. But here's the interesting thing. I was happy to lose that money. So happy to lose it. Because during the time of being in this deal, while it wasn't sold, my mind was thinking about this deal every single day. Every moment of every day, I'm not looking for new opportunities. I could be going out and making new money, but every day I'm having to answer phone calls about this property. The city is giving us violations for trash. The contractors are like, what's going on? All the things that could go wrong were going wrong with this deal. So when I finally cut it and wrote a check for 50 grand, I was so happy because now I can go and make new money. And almost within a week of letting go of this, I produced a little over a new $30,000 in my business. So we recouped the money already, but the mind was able to focus on new opportunities. So I always tell people, if you're in business, the most important resource you have, it's not your dollars, it's your attention. If something is draining your attention, know when to cut your losses, let go of it, and focus on new income producing activities. So yeah, this property, 32nd Street, was the worst deal I bought in 2023, and hopefully you don't need to make that same mistake.
I got $1 billion mindset, steady as the flow.